Okay, so now we can do is create another function, right? And this is add items to DynamoDB Table function. Okay, that's another guy that we can do in right. And now that we understand how roles work, what we can do here is create a role, right, that let us work with a Lambda function. So we can share here Lambda, choose Lambda, and Lambda is gonna look for DynamoDB, and we're gonna add full access to that Lambda role. So here we have the role. So DynamoDB Lambda full access role. Okay, that will let and guys, we can go back a little slower. So once you're here in IAM, click on roles, right? And then create a role right here. Now, who's going to assume the role? Who's going to use the role? A Lambda function. So we select Lambda here, and this will allow Lambda to call AWS services on your behalf. Okay, so click on permissions, and then I have to look for the policy that the role is going to have that is going to allow a Lambda function to fully access a DynamoDB table. So we say Dynamo, and then it's going to give me the Amazon DynamoDB full access. I check this guy, I click next tags, and I'm going to put any tag here, review, and give it a name, right? And that's the name that I'm going to give it to. So DynamoDB Lambda full access role, right? Now that I have created the role, right? The role is being created right here. It says the role DynamoDB Lambda full access role has been created. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my Lambda function, and here I'm going to select an existing role, which is here, right? And I'm going to look for that one, for that particular one that I just created, right here. It's right here. So DynamoDB Lambda full access role. I click on the role, and then once I have the name, the runtime, and the role necessary for that, I create the function. So now that I have the function, I'm going to write the function here. So I'm going to say, well, I'm going to import JSON because I need JSON for that. I have to, the way that I have to present the objects to, or to the items to Lambda, to DynamoDB table has to be in a JSON format, right? I'm going to import JSON, and I'm going to import bottom three, like I did before. Okay. So now I can say DynamoDB, like I did before, DynamoDB equals bottom3 dot resource, and the resource is a DynamoDB table. Now I do the same thing. I say table, right? And I use DynamoDB, the object, and then I say here, well, table, and the table is person, right? Now that I have this, I create the handler. The handler is always has to be there, right? So it'll be Lambda handler, okay? That will take an event and the context, which we're not gonna use, but you have to put it there, okay? Now, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to put an object, an item, sorry. Put is to add, right? So we're gonna say table, that's coming from here, guys, from the table. I'm gonna say dot put item, right? And that's gonna be the item that we're going to put, right? So the item equals, and now say the item. What is the item that adding? Okay, so it has an ID, right? And the ID is going to be 004. Okay, remember that I'm adding those, but remember, it's a string, it's not a number. Okay, now it has a first name, right? It has a first name, and the first name is going to be, for example, Fatim, right? And it has a last name. And now remember your last name, Fatim.
M-A-M-O.
M-A-M-O.
U-N-I.
U-N-I.
U-N-I, yes.
Okay, good. So I have this guy. Okay. Now that I have this, if the item is added, I'm going to return, of course, it's at the same label as the table. I'm going to return something. Okay, I'm going to return a message and say, well, the status code is going to be 200, right? 200 means that everything is okay. And the body is going to be item added successfully. Okay, so that's going to be my function, right? So that function is going to add an item to a DynamoDB table. I'm going to paste it on Slack, right? So you guys can see it, right? That should work. That should add an item to the table, right? And maybe I can say here, maybe item, and then here, item. What do you think? Right? Let's see what happens. So we now deploy it, and we create a test event. So that's add item to DynamoDB table. Okay. And now I create this, and let's see what happens. So I test it. Name item is not defined. Okay, that will be line 17. Yes, because item here. Yes. Okay, that's fine. So I remove this. Okay, deploy it again and test it. Item added successfully. Okay, let's check the table. Let's see what we have here. Table. And now I have this person here, and I have 004 Fatim Mamouni. So the item was added, right? It worked. Okay. See, guys? So a Lambda function can easily add items to the DynamoDB table, okay, by using Python here. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm starting to get the Lambda function, like it's really used.
Yeah, but Lambda function, remember, is a trigger, it's an event trigger function, right? Something has to trigger that function, right? Something has to trigger it. And we saw before we created a cron job, right? That triggered the function. So if nothing calls it, it would not work. So this test here, when we click on this guy, that's basically the function call, right? This is the trigger. This is another service calling, for example, right? So let's say you can have a bucket you can have a bucket that if you upload a file to a bucket, the bucket will trigger a Lambda function, and the Lambda function will add an item to the table. Just an example, right? So let us create another item here and say 5. Let us say maybe Dunioski, and let us say Otano here, okay? Right? I deploy this, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead now and create a bucket and upload